James Delaney thought he knew Alina Carter, the woman he planned to marry, the one who filled his home with laughter and his life with purpose, until one message on her laptop revealed everything he never wanted to believe, igniting a chain of events that would end in betrayal, obsession, and a disappearance that turned their perfect love story into a true crime nightmare. Would you like a shorter version for use as a YouTube intro line? James Delaney had what most people would call a good life. At 29, he had worked hard to build something real. He wasn't rich, but he was comfortable. His car detailing business in Phoenix had taken off after years of grinding, working 7 days a week, sometimes sleeping in the garage to save time. He was the kind of guy who believed in doing things the right way. Slow, steady, honest. When he met Alina Carter, everything seemed to click into place. She was bright, beautiful, and full of energy. A rising social media influencer, she had over 200,000 followers and a steady stream of sponsorships and beauty brand collaborations. Their relationship looked like a modern fairy tale, the grounded, hardworking man and the glamorous, jet-setting girlfriend. Their social media profiles painted a picture of perfection. There were sunset beach photos, weekend hikes, surprise date nights, and matching holiday pajamas. Their followers adored them. Every post was met with comments like, couple goals, and this is what love looks like. But like most things online, it was a carefully crafted illusion. The truth was more complicated. Over time, James began to feel a quiet shift. Alina wasn't around as much. She had always been busy, but now she was distant. She seemed glued to her phone more than usual. Her smiles felt forced. She started canceling plans at the last minute, saying she had meetings or last-minute trips with sponsors. James, a private and modest man, didn't question it at first. He believed people needed space. He didn't want to be controlling. He told himself that he trusted her, that she was just under pressure from work. Then came the moment that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. James was home early because a client canceled. He needed to send an invoice, but his laptop had run out of battery. Alina's was on the kitchen counter, open and logged in. He hesitated before using it. They rarely touched each other's devices, but he told himself it would only take a second. As he opened a new email draft, a notification popped up in the corner of the screen. It was from a messaging app he didn't recognize. The name wasn't familiar, just an emoji and a first name. But what caught his eye was the photo preview in the message bubble. A picture of Alina, not from any public post, but something clearly private. It was intimate. Explicit. He stared at the screen, frozen. He clicked the thread. There were dozens of messages. Photos, videos, voice notes. It wasn't just a fling. It had been going on for months. She told this man things she'd never said to James. Things that stung. About how boring her boyfriend was. How she felt stuck. How she wanted someone exciting. In that moment, something in James changed. The warmth drained from his face. The room felt colder. He closed the laptop, placed it back exactly where it was, and walked out the front door in silence. He didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, he went back to work the next morning, smiled through his meetings, and told no one. But deep down, he was already planning what came next. James didn't sleep much after discovering the messages. His mind ran in loops, replaying every conversation, every kiss, every night she came home late. Everything felt different now, like his memories had been rewritten. But instead of confronting Alina immediately, he decided to wait. He needed to be sure. He needed to know everything before he made a move. So he did what came naturally to him. He observed, quietly and carefully. Over the next 2 weeks, James began documenting everything. He started with her schedule. She usually left around 10 a.m., claiming to meet with brand reps or photographers. James began checking her locations through the shared phone plan they had set up months earlier, a feature she had long forgotten about. Her phone showed her in places she never mentioned, upscale condos in unfamiliar parts of town, hotels near the airport, small coffee shops outside their usual neighborhoods. He kept screenshots of every location ping. Then he checked her Uber history and noticed multiple late-night drop-offs at the same address downtown. He also started going through old receipts and credit card statements. Little things began to stand out. Two-person dinners on nights she told him she was working late, room charges at boutique hotels, unfamiliar ride-sharing trips. He dug through emails, searched for aliases, even created a burner social media account to follow her private stories. Every click led to more proof. She was cheating, and not just occasionally, it was systematic, planned. James was unraveling, but not outwardly. To Alina, nothing had changed. He brought her morning coffee. He rubbed her shoulders while she edited brand videos. He laughed at her jokes and told her to be safe now when she left for her supposed meetings. Inside, though, he was watching every move, waiting, planning. The final confirmation came on a Saturday night. Alina had told James she was having a girls' wine night at her friend Kira S. place. But earlier that day, he had quietly placed a small GPS tracker under her car, one he ordered online and installed in under 5 minutes. That evening, the signal didn't go anywhere near Kira's house. Instead, her car parked outside a high-rise condo in downtown Phoenix. James drove there, parked a block away, and waited. 2 hours later, Alina came out with a man James had never seen before. They were holding hands. She kissed him before getting into her car. James sat motionless in his own vehicle, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. But still, he said nothing. He followed her home, watched her go inside, and sat in the driveway for another hour before driving off. The next morning, James created an anonymous email account. He attached several of the photos, GPS screenshots, and a blurry image from outside the condo. He sent them to a popular local Instagram page known for gossip and influencer drama. Within a few hours, the post was live. Comments poured in. People speculated, guessed, and commented viciously. Alina had no idea who exposed her, and James made sure to act just as shocked as everyone else. Alina's online world collapsed almost instantly. The Instagram post exposing her alleged affair racked up thousands of views within hours. Followers began commenting on her recent photos, asking if the rumors were true. She lost 2 brand deals by the end of the day. Another influencer unfollowed her publicly, triggering a wave of speculation. Alina tried to control the damage by posting a vague story about jealous people spreading lies, but it only made things worse. Screenshots and rumors continued to swirl, and more than one follower claimed they had seen her out with different men in the past few months. Her image, once carefully crafted and adored, began to crumble. Alina didn't know James was behind the leak. She paced around their apartment in a panic, sobbing and frantically messaging PR contacts. James, meanwhile, kept calm. He told her to ignore the hate, to stay offline, to let things blow over. He played the part of the supportive boyfriend perfectly. To anyone watching from the outside, it looked like he was being loyal in a difficult moment. But inside, James was filled with something far darker. Satisfaction mixed with something he hadn't felt before. Control. But keeping that mask on took a toll. James stopped sleeping through the night. He started drinking more than usual. At first, just a glass of whiskey before bed, then 2, then a whole bottle over the course of a day. He stopped returning client calls. His once thriving business started slipping. He ignored messages from friends, avoided his family, and let the house fall into disarray. The weight of keeping everything inside began to crush him. It wasn't long before neighbors started noticing the change. Loud music played late into the night. Windows were left open during rainstorms. Shouting and crashes echoed from the garage. One evening, a neighbor called 911 after hearing what sounded like something heavy being thrown against a wall. When police arrived, they found James alone in the darkened garage, sitting in a lawn chair surrounded by broken tools and shattered glass. He wasn't violent, just distant, empty. He told the officers he had just dropped something. Nothing serious. They believed him and left without filing a report. Alina was too wrapped up in her own panic to notice how far James was slipping. Her focus remained on her online reputation. She kept recording videos, crying into the camera, trying to explain the misunderstanding. She blamed haters, stalkers, and even her own friends for setting her up. She had no clue the man sleeping next to her every night was the one who had orchestrated her downfall. And James never hinted at it. Then, one morning, Alina was gone. No note, no warning. Her purse was gone, but her phone and laptop were still on the kitchen table. Her car was in the driveway. James said nothing to anyone for nearly a day. Then, casually, he mentioned to a friend that she had probably just gone to cool off somewhere. But by the time her parents got involved and reported her missing, James had already quietly begun cleaning the garage. When Alina's parents reported her missing, the police initially treated it as a possible case of emotional burnout. She was under heavy public scrutiny, had been the subject of online harassment, and her mental state had clearly deteriorated. The fact that her phone and laptop were left behind only added to the theory that she may have walked away from everything. But something felt off. Alina had always been attached to her devices. Leaving her phone was like leaving her identity. Still, there were no immediate signs of foul play, and James calmly told officers they had argued the night before, and she left to clear her head. He claimed she took a small bag and left on foot. He didn't seem panicked, but he wasn't acting exactly normal either. He was too calm, too precise. Detectives began questioning people close to her. Friends mentioned the cheating rumors and the toll it had taken on Alina's mental health. Some hinted at relationship problems, though no one suspected James of being dangerous. He had always seemed reserved, a bit distant, but polite and professional. What raised eyebrows, however, was his demeanor during interviews. He didn't ask many questions about the search. He didn't seem concerned about updates. He didn't cry. He didn't even appear angry. Just quiet. Cold. Then came the first real break in the case. During a routine sweep of the house, officers conducted a secondary search of the garage. At first glance, it appeared normal, cluttered, but not suspicious. But when they tapped on a wall panel near James's workbench, it sounded hollow. Behind it, tucked into the drywall, they found a worn black notebook, bound with tape. Inside was something far more disturbing than anyone expected. The notebook was filled with entries, chaotic, emotional, and obsessive. There were dates, notes on Alina's whereabouts, names of places she had visited, and theories about her lover. It read like a diary of someone slowly losing control. There were pages filled with copied text messages, some real, some imagined. Photos had been printed and glued in. Alina with other men, Alina smiling at her phone. Alina asleep. One section of the notebook had just 3 words, repeated dozens of times in red ink. I know everything. Toward the end of the notebook, a phrase appeared that chilled investigators. If I can't have peace, neither can she. Beneath it was a list of possible scenarios: run away, disappear, fake a crisis. It wasn't clear if it was a plan or a fantasy, but it was enough to justify an arrest. James was taken into custody and charged with suspicion of involvement in Alina's disappearance. The media caught wind of the story quickly. News outlets ran segments about the quiet man with the broken heart and the influencer who vanished without a trace. The public was split. Some believed James was innocent, others were certain he had snapped. But just when the case looked close to being closed, a twist no one saw coming surfaced. Surveillance footage from a gas station 180 miles north of Phoenix captured a woman matching Alina Jew's description. She was alone, wearing a hoodie and sunglasses, and she withdrew $300 in cash. The timestamp, 2 days after James had been arrested. Suddenly, everything the police thought they knew began to unravel. The sighting of Alina at the gas station flipped the investigation on its head. Up until that point, all the evidence pointed toward James, his obsessive notebook, the strange behavior, and his eerie calmness. But the timestamp on the footage didn't lie. Alina had been alive and on the move 2 full days after James was placed in custody. Detectives immediately sent a team to the area where the footage was captured. They canvassed nearby motels, restaurants, and public transportation hubs. At a bus station just a few miles from the gas station, an employee confirmed that a woman matching Alina Jew's appearance had boarded a late-night bus heading toward northern Arizona. It took another week before Alina surfaced again. This time, she walked into a police station in Flagstaff, alone and visibly tired, but unharmed. She claimed she had fled Phoenix because the public humiliation had become unbearable. According to her statement, she needed to disappear to escape the chaos and clear her mind. She had no idea that her disappearance had sparked a criminal investigation, or that James had been arrested. Initially, the officers treated her as a possible victim of emotional trauma, but certain parts of her story didn't add up. She said she left suddenly, without a plan, but she had rented an Airbnb under a fake name, used a burner phone, and brought cash she had withdrawn from multiple ATMs across different counties. When police got a warrant to search the property she had been staying in, they found wigs, printed maps, prepaid phones, and a stash of notes, some written in a tone eerily similar to the notebook James had hidden. One note read, "They'll never believe him if I play this right." What had originally looked like a mental health breakdown or panic-driven escape quickly began to resemble a calculated setup. Investigators now had to consider a new theory. Alina had faked her disappearance, not just to get away from the social backlash, but to destroy James completely. Her goal wasn't just to vanish, it was to paint him as unstable, dangerous, and unhinged. And for a while, it worked. He had been in jail, his business destroyed, his reputation shredded by public speculation. Once confronted with the evidence, Alina shifted her story again. She claimed she never intended for James to be arrested, and that the burner phones and disguises were to protect herself from online stalkers. But the mounting contradictions led to a different outcome. She was arrested and charged with filing a false police report, identity fraud, and obstruction of justice. Though the charges weren't as severe as James's had been, the damage to her public image was irreversible. James was released, but he wasn't the same man. He avoided the press, refused interview requests, and quietly sold his business within a month of his release. He left Phoenix without telling anyone where he was going. Alina's social media accounts were deactivated soon after. Her name, once attached to beauty brands and fashion deals, disappeared from public life. In the end, no one won. What started as a betrayal turned into a psychological war, one that left both lives in ruins. Lies, revenge, obsession, and the hunger for control had turned love into something unrecognizable. And once the truth surfaced, there was nothing left to salvage.